on our members to directors. Our kind of mission statement, if you like, is making IT good for society, which you will see on the screen there. And before you turn off because you're not interested in technology, or you're not IT savvy, or you don't have a computer science degree, our organisation is for everybody. It is for everybody who is beginning their career or starting a career, because IT will be a fundamental part of what you do and how your career progresses. And so a lot of people, when they initially see the Chartered Institute for IT, they think, oh, I'm not technical enough. I don't have the knowledge or the know-how to be able to join such an organisation. And in the past, we were very much a gatekeeper, protecting people within protecting our members, making sure standards were maintained at the very highest level. And we found out that people were not engaging with us. So we now very much open up to everybody. We open up to anybody from the very beginning of their career, from their very first knowledge and information around IT. And we help them progress, and we progress them towards what we want them to attain, which is a professionalism in IT. So we're here for everybody. We've got with British businesses and international businesses around the world, we engage with them from the very beginning to help them in the digital transformation, which is currently affecting us all and driving change within industry. And of course, as part of that change, there is a big focus on green IT. So we have a commitment to make IT good for society. We do that in a number of ways. In particular, we try to encourage a diverse range of people into the profession, because everybody's perspective is important to us. We help define standards. So Chartered IT Professional is our highest standard, and that's what we want to achieve and want people to target as they go through their work life and career. We advocate ethical ways of working with IT. So ethics are a big part of what we do. We try to address the digital skills gap. So we're maintaining and trying to close that gap with a number of partners and teams within our organisation who are focused on that. We offer training and support. That training is driven by industry, so where they have risks to their business or risks to their knowledge or their lack of knowledge as IT evolves, we are there to support them, and we create training packages around that, which then sit within industry and help industry. Just moving quickly on, because I know I don't have a lot of time. I'm very much engaged with this, mainly through my family, but I think it's such a huge issue that everybody and every organisation and every individual should be aware of the importance of climate change and what is happening to our planet. I was reading Antonio Guterres, who was the Secretary General of the UN, who said, "Every week brings new climate-related devastation. Floods, drought, heat waves, wildfires, superstorms. Climate disruption is happening now, and it's happening to all of us. Catastrophe for life as we know it," is what he said. And so it's a massive issue, and no more so than for the IT sector, which is trying to commit towards net zero as a carbon industry, but in itself generates about 10% of the world's CO2 emissions. Believe it or not, that by 2025 that is going to double, and so people within the IT sector are very much conscious of it. I would hope that everybody listening today within their organisation or on a personal level is engaging with many of the challenges and changes that they need to implement in order to drive a greener IT part of their business or side to their business. It's something that we're very much focused on, and as members we have an IT specialist group, a green IT specialist group that meets once every couple of months to discuss the major issues that are coming out of green IT and how to educate people in the changes that they need to adopt in order to grow their IT awareness within their organisation. So it's very, very important to us, and I would hope, given the threat to life on this planet, which is probably not too, might frighten you on a Monday morning, but to be honest, it is that serious. We are at a stage now where I was speaking to some professors at Oxford University who are now no longer looking at reducing or maintaining planet temperatures below 1.5 degrees, that goal has already been lost fundamentally. And so they're looking at how to reverse climate change to a large extent. And I think digital and IT has a big part to play in that, both negatively and positively. So I mentioned that technology industry consumes 2 to 10% of the global energy. We're responsible for about 10% of the moment of carbon emissions on the planet. That's going to double, as I said, by 2025. We should always be thinking as an industry and as businesses here about our impact and our digital behavior on the environment. Every email, even this conversation and the talks we're doing today, every email we send has an impact on our carbon emissions, and we need to be very careful, because even the smallest changes can affect what we do. And if we can multiply that by a number of organizations involved in IT, then that's better for us all. So technology's role in reducing emissions, you can kind of look at it two ways, really. You've got resources and usage. So how do we reduce that? How do we recycle our equipment? How do we recycle our technology? How do we create new apps and new software that reduces the amount of energy that it consumes? Sustainable IT is all about these things, particularly green IT is very, very powerful in trying to identify the problems and solve them. Unfortunately, we need quite a lot of resources and rare earth metals that are being mined and being looked at being mined from the bottom of the ocean, and that in itself then causes a problem for environmentalists. So it's not an easy road to travel down. So we're trying to reduce our emissions, and we're trying to encourage industry to by providing training and support through our membership, which is very important, and it's something that BCS is fundamentally aware of. So we've adopted a Green IT Challenge. We've created within membership. So we have 70,000 members globally. About 15,000 of those are international. And through our membership portal, which everybody has access to, we have introduced some continued professional development. So some of it is paid for, but some of it is free to BCS members. It is a number of programs, including Green IT, but we've also got a program on AI and a program on ethics. So they sit within membership, and it's a way of encouraging businesses to engage with BCS, to engage their staff with BCS so they can understand the problems that the IT world or the IT industry is facing in terms of how we're going to mitigate the effects of this global climate change that IT and the IT industry, IT sector has part of introduced through its carbon emissions. So it's a modular program. It starts with module 1. It's about understanding what green IT is, about the history of green IT, what everybody can do to reduce their carbon footprint. It's full of interaction, so it's very interactive. It's got lots of drag and drops and videos to watch and quizzes to do, and information you can garner from blogs and various other kind of web interactive processes. So it's all varied and engaging. Module 2 looks at to drive sustainable IT practices. So as I said, I hope the people I'm speaking to, the people in industry I'm speaking to today, do have somebody who's involved in sustainable IT, does have somebody who's involved in green IT within their organization, who is looking at the impact of their own activities. Module 3 is how to implement green IT within your organization. So you go through the process, the three modules, each one of them is an hour long. I dare say we will be adding to those over the next few months, because it is such a major issue for us, and hoping to implement that change in terms of supporting the industry in that. This is what it looks like very briefly. I'm sure you can see my screen. It's very simple, engaging platform. As I said, it's available to all members. It teaches industry and individuals about their green credentials and how they should be looking to change their current working practices. And it's all about engaging with our members and trying to put the issues of the day to the forefront of their knowledge, so we can do something about it. It's extremely important to us. So just a reiteration of who BCS are. We're three blocks, or three different kind of departments, if you like, pulled into one. We're learning and development, which is where I'm currently engaged. We also have the institute, and we also have education and public benefit. All members get access to all different sides of what we do, and all the CPD modules that we create and provide. Later in the week, I'm doing something on systems enterprise architecture. Part of that is systems architecture. That would be more on continued professional development in terms of resources and certifications that we offer. This particular Green IT module sits within our membership, so it's accessible to members who join BCS. Over the years, we've professionally certified some 720,000 individuals with BCS programs. We're very apprenticeship space. We deliver assessments to over 20,000 apprentices involved in IT. That's a big part of developing the skills that they need for their role within their career. Apprenticeships are very much focused on skills. They're following a different pathway to an academic education. They're working while they're studying, and they're engaged with BCS, which helps support them in that. And as I said before, with 70,000 members, around 150 countries, and if anything that BCS does well, what it does well is connect people. So it connects people in IT around the world, whichever industry they're in, from Hong Kong, where I've been doing some work recently, across to Australia, Nigeria, India, and the US. So everything that we do is driven by our members, and that's how we operate, really. So it's we'd love you to join. As I said, you don't have to be overly technical to be a member of BCS. You can join us, and we will help guide you through your career, including accessing Green IT modules for your improved development. And that's me. So if you have any questions, I'll be staying on until the end. You can either write to me if you don't have time to stick around. But yeah, we're a very engaging organisation, membership driven. So everybody who's a member actually wants to contribute to what we do. So it gives you access to an awful lot of subject matter experts and individuals, very highest levels of academia and business, all the way through to people just starting their career. So we cover a broad band of people. So yeah, please get in touch. And I think, Jonathan, I've stuck within my time.
Stephen, thank you so much. Thank you so much indeed. Really interesting to hear about what the BCS is doing, particularly around sustainable and green. And we do have a couple of questions that have come in, which we'll come to at the end. So I'm grateful for your time and energy this morning. And, you know, for me, professional bodies such as the BCS really are the pinnacle of careers. So really good way to engage and develop your career over the lifelong period. So thank you so much. Next up, we have Purple Beard Limited. Dimple Kagram, who's online at the moment, is a serial entrepreneur, and she's CEO of Purple Beard Limited. So she's an edtech founder with a mission to deliver alternative education interventions to businesses and individuals in the digital space. Dimple is passionate about accessibility, tech skills, mental health and neuroscience, especially understanding how we learn. Dimple grew up across 3 continents and speaks multiple languages. Dimple, a very good morning and thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Oh, great. Lovely. Excellent. Thanks for that, Jonathan. And thanks for that, Stephen. We do work with BCS quite closely, actually, which is really great. So Steve, Jonathan's already given my introduction, a little bit about what we do. So we are working in the tech sector. We're really a training provider. We disrupt the tech sector by, providing challenging, engaging, and highly selective experiences developed by industry-led experts. What does that mean in a nutshell? All of our curriculum that we deliver is developed by SMEs, because that's where, you know, where it really kind of adds value. Just this morning, I was reading headlines from the World Economic Forum stating that, you know, 80 million jobs would be lost by 2027. And they would be replaced by 70 million new jobs. Sorry, I'm having some technical issues. Apologies for that. So I'm going to be talking about leveraging innovative pathways to tech talent training and acquisition, and we offer various different programs. So just to kind of bridge some of the gaps, because we keep hearing almost every week about the digital skills gap, that there are gaps, employers are struggling, individuals are struggling, and I think the current landscape has really changed since COVID-19, because we're in our fourth industrial revolution. AI and automation are becoming mainstream. New jobs that are created require very, very different ways of working, and traditional education models are becoming a bit outdated, because I think the pace at which some of the qualifications are offered versus the pace technology is changing, it's really, really fast. So, let's explore sort of some of the, you can see some of the skills gaps and shortages. This was a survey carried out in 2023 by the Manpower Group. A lot of the countries are listed out here, and we can see a lot of them are having skills gaps, 64%, 65%, as high as 90%, where there are quite a few gaps. So, with some of the data that we've looked at, 4 in 5 employers globally report difficulty finding the talent they need. There is a 17-year high, and it's being driven by a number of factors such as strong economic recovery, changing skills needs, and demographic shifts. And some of the most in-demand technical skills include cloud computing, data analytics, and cybersecurity. And some of the softer skills that kind of make up that, alongside are sort of, problem solving, teamwork, and communication. Employers also need to increasingly invest in their people to address the skills gap, and this includes providing training and development. To date, we've trained over 900 people, and this has just been in a span of 2.5 years, because there's been a real appetite for some of the training that we offer. To overcome some of the talent shortages, employers are also looking to hire from a wider range of sources, including non-traditional talent pools. So some of the work we've done is very much about returners to work, where mums are coming back into the tech sector. Even though the talent shortage is most acute in the technology sector, it's a huge problem across lots of other industries, including healthcare, manufacturing, and transportation. The skills gap is just not a problem for employers today, but it's also a huge problem for individuals. Just this morning, the headline was, 80 million jobs would be kind of displaced by 73 million new jobs by 2027. When you look at sort of job adverts, there's lots and lots of different titles that are coming out, lots of different skills that are required. So, what is the impact of this? I know it sounds very doom and gloom, but at the end of the day, I think this is also an opportunity for us to kind of come up with innovative and disruptive solutions that can help us navigate the challenge. Reskilling and upskilling our current employees is a really practical strategy that most companies can adopt, with other partners and other organizations, like BCS spoke about earlier on. But we can also tap into new talent pools, people from underrepresented groups and non-traditional education backgrounds, because this kind of brings in a real new perspective, and it can drive innovation in unforeseen ways. Collaboration with government is another very effective strategy, really fostering policies that support a responsive skills agenda. Considering non-traditional routes of education like apprenticeships and vocational schemes, because by blending the theoretical learning and practical work experiences, they do develop real life skills, and it kind of aligns with industry needs that we all are kind of looking to match. adopting something called a skills-first approach to talent management. So rather than focusing on, qualifications or years of experience, how does this align with skills that an organization needs? Partnerships with training providers can also support skills development, partnerships with awarding bodies. So there's a whole range of ways that, some of these skills can be developed. But I think most importantly, we need to start looking at skills development as a investment and not as a cost. Companies that invest in their talent are building a foundation for competitiveness, innovation, and long-term sustainability. The tech skills gap is a pressing challenge, but it's also an opportunity for us for reinvention. We can leverage lots of different pathways for talent training, acquisition, and we can shape a future together that's more inclusive, innovative, and resilient. How can we sort of help? There's just lots of data on my presentation. So, better upskilling and education could add 8.3 trillion to the GDP by 2030. We've talked about some of the potential solutions, our impact and achievements to date. We've trained over 900 individuals in the last 2.5 years. We've supported over 40 businesses with their skills strategy, especially in digital, because that's the area we work in. Our contribution to the economy, 60% of our participants have progressed into new roles or moved into new roles, and 20% of our participants have secured entry-level tech roles to fill the digital skills gap. We are also championing women in tech, so we are proud to have trained over 400 women, a testament to bringing commitment to bridging the sex gap in tech. Our work in this area has not gone unnoticed. We've also been nominated for a couple of awards as a result of the work that we've done. So how can we help you, or how do we work with industry, with employers, with different partners? We work with employers carrying out training needs analysis to understand, what their skills needs are versus what they have, just understanding those gaps. Upskilling your current workforce via what we call, we run skills boot camps in a number of areas. These are short, sharp interventions that look at developing technical and non-technical skills, with your current employees. Deployment services we run, we've championed hire tech talent, where organizations can work with us and they can take on individuals who have trained with us through our boot camps into their organizations. We also work with corporate support with building diversity and inclusion, and support with building a continuous development culture, but this all links in really well with the training needs analysis. We're very much about partnership. We like to develop long-term partnerships because I think that's the way we ensure that we're all sort of working together. The other thing that we do offer is consultancy. We work in 2 specific areas, which is digital accessibility and data. And again, this is through sort of our students, through our deployment services, and really our training programs are focused very much in tech. Skills boot camps have been really effective way of developing skills at a rapid pace, because they run from between 11 to 16 weeks. Employers support with co-design of those boot camps. So our current model also works with employers who want to give projects that are run as part of the boot camps and the training. Thank you for your time. If there are any questions, sorry, I was really quick. I think I was talking very fast, but if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me any questions. Thank you.
Dimple, thank you so much indeed for that. Really interesting again to hear about the range of work that you are undertaking as an organisation in the IT space, and particularly looking towards future skills and the accessibility of those future skills. So thank you very much indeed for your presentation. Next up on the agenda today, we have People1st International Limited. Jane Rexworthy is the speaker for today from People1st. She's the Executive Director, and she's also chair of the UK Skills Partnership. So it's a real pleasure to have Jane with us today, wearing 2 hats. She is a senior leader internationally in gender, social and economic inclusion. She's a TVET or skills expert. Jane is a chartered fellow of the CIPD and a fellow of the Institute of Leadership and Management. And Jane, over to you. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Has disappeared.
Let me put it back up. See if it comes back up now. Can
I
you
think
see
you're on
it?
screen. Yeah, thank you, Jane. Yeah.
Okay, well, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much for being here today. Looking forward to spending a few minutes sharing with you a little bit about the work that People1st International undertakes in the tourism and hospitality space, and also around the gender area that we've already heard this morning. So I think you're going to hear some links to what my colleagues have said earlier on. So People1st International, we are a sector skills council set up in the UK. We're part of a group of sector skills councils, and we work closely with our industry, completely industry led, to understand industry insight and needs, how to collaborate within industry, within the stakeholders, the provision, and also with government. And also within that, we provide a number of different solutions and expert consultancy. But what's critical to the work that we do is the development of skills standards and being able to work not only in the UK, but internationally, where we work in over 40 countries, to provide practical, responsive solutions that meet the needs of industry. We're lucky to be part of the UK Skills Federation and the UK Skills Partnership, and I'm delighted to be here, as Jonathan says, wearing the two hats today as chair of the UK Skills Partnership. So my first part of my presentation is really to understand, how do you help employers to better address their workforce needs? And I want to give you some examples of what's happening in industry at the moment. And again, you'll have heard some of these stats perhaps before, but what we know is the pandemic was a massive disruptor. In the tourism and hospitality industries, we saw 62 million tourism related jobs disappear and change, and that was incredibly disruptive. We lost that talent in some ways forever, because many individuals went into other sectors to work. And so over the last few years, we've had to really work hard to build back the skills that we've lost over that time. We also have the challenge, not just in the UK, but around the world, through various different crises, the inflation and rising costs of travel for individuals. And we've seen that where different air routes have been changed due to war, due to pricing, due to lack of airlines being available, and of course the challenge with staff shortages. And one of the things that's come out of that, and especially important for the hospitality and tourism sector, is customer excellence. And what we've seen with having a lack of skilled workforce across the world, and certainly we've seen it in the UK, reduced levels of service. And it's seen as what's now termed as skimpflation, in terms of not having enough human resource to support the customers when they're coming into our hospitality and tourism environments. And another aspect is that our consumers are increasingly aware of sustainability and the green agenda. They're looking for organisations and businesses to respond effectively around that. So some skills insights that, in fact, Dimples mentioned these, and I was really interested to see the Manpower 2023 survey, because what I've done is pointing out again on this slide the challenges that we're seeing across all industries in terms of skills gaps. So if we're thinking 3/4 of the industry and employers that are out there are struggling with their existing workforce, let alone the employment of a new workforce. So that importance of lifelong learning is growing. They're saying that actually there's a lack of applications. So we're seeing that actually it's the job market that are getting the choice. Those that are looking for jobs have more choice out there and are more discerning about the type of organisations they want to work with. So there's a real need to improve the way that industry goes out to employ individuals and look to retain those individuals. And much of our work is based around that recruitment, retention and growth of work-based learning solutions to help people on their career pathway. So the only other figure I'm going to pick out there is that the 54% of organisations say they don't have initiative skills programmes or adjustments for specific talent pools. Now, this is really important. This is where we're needing our industries, especially in tourism and hospitality, to go out and investigate new talent pools and to think about how they're going to train and develop those individuals using a raft of different skills solutions. And so our recent work in terms of understanding our industry has shown a number of key factors. We know that there's more support needed for our entry point employees, people coming in who haven't been in the workforce before, need to build those talent skills, very much so in the soft core skills that we hear a lot about, but are very hard to see in some of our programs and curriculum that we have, and really important and it's great when you see some of our providers starting to build those core and key skills into those programs. So one of the other challenges that we've seen is not only do we have a challenge in that entry pool, not having the right skills in tourism and hospitality, we've also seen it in the existing workforce, but we also have the phenomena of, since the pandemic, of what we call the accidental leader, people that have been promoted into supervisory and management roles without having the training. And that's a specific skill set. So we're seeing a huge amount of request and demand for that leadership and management skill set. So one of the areas that we've done a lot of work in is to look at how do you support customer excellence, and we've put in a number of programs, including our World Host Customer Excellence, to support businesses to grow that skill set of customer excellence within their organisations. And we know that through the pandemic, as I've said, that we've seen this skill set particularly missing, and partly due to this skimflation that's become that new terminology. So we are looking at our industry now in terms of how do you build that customer excellence? How do you support the skills growth of individuals entering through solutions such as apprenticeships, internships, short bite-sized modular programs for existing workforce, and the leadership and management programs. So across the world, we've done quite a bit of work in the recent years, especially since the pandemic, in supporting countries to see how they might address some of these solutions. So one of the things that we've done recently in Mexico is to undertake detailed labour market intelligence within regions to work with the key stakeholders to understand the challenge with youth unemployment and the lack of job generation, and identifying where those job opportunities are. And that's to stop the brain drain that's happening in these countries and identify ways of upskilling and providing those entry routes into perhaps non-typical roles or jobs for individuals. We've also, in another country, developed in Jordan a skills academy right in the heart of where the job opportunities are. So putting the training facility, working with local training providers, building their capability and capacity to deliver skills right on the doorstep of where the employers are wanting those individuals to work. That's been extremely successful. It's in its 5th year of running and has achieved over 85% into work from having gone through these very tailored programs to prepare people for the workplace. We've also seen an opportunity when we're working directly with businesses. We talked about the importance of building the skills of the existing workforce. And this example comes from Egypt, where we've been working directly with a large hotel employer to support them in training not only their existing workforce, but to look at the entry workforce as well, building their induction programs, building the skill set of their leaders and managers. And so I just want to move on very quickly into what's come out of all of these projects is the importance of gender and social inclusion equality. And we know in many countries this is problematic, this can be very challenging, and we've wanted to show that there are ways and solutions to undertaking that. So just some stats to set the scene for this. We know that there are 2.4 billion women of working age who are not given that equal economic opportunity in over 178 countries in the world. That's a very high percentage of the number of countries we have who are not giving that equality. So the opportunity of supporting industry in this way is incredibly important. We also see the challenge for our people with disabilities, and we see over 1 billion people who do experience disability who are challenged with that ability to have socioeconomic opportunities to access gainful employment. And we've recently set up in Egypt as well an inclusive recruitment and training centre where we are fostering that inclusive training and supporting employers to take on individuals with disability into the workplace with very small adaptations. And then final statistic is that only 49% of countries have achieved that gender parity in primary education. And we've seen that quite a lot in the work we've been doing in Africa, where we have seen women having sometimes 3 years less education than men of the same age. So some solutions that we've been working on over the last few years, again, just to give some examples, in Colombia, working with FCDO, we were able to support the construction industry to support them in the recruitment of women into the workplace, looking at unbiased recruitment, looking at the way that they provide induction support for women in the workplace. Really successful pilot that continues to run, and we provided a toolkit that is accessible to the whole of the industry in Colombia. And then just to come back to, I mentioned our inclusive recruitment and training centre in Jordan, in Egypt, and now added some elements into Jordan. Again, really important to work with organisations, and this has been through partnership. So not only is it us working as an individual organisation, but it's us linking in country with a number of partners that can provide those solutions, building their own capability and capacity to continue to escalate that for the future. And then finally, we've been really fortunate with the hotel group that we've been working with in Egypt to provide support for all of the individuals around the gender inclusion model. And so Jezi has become one of the induction programs that every individual that enters into this hotel chain will undertake a training program in. And so for us, it's really important to see how the work that we do, the work that our partners do, supports the growth of industry as well as the individuals that are working in those industries. So I'm going to finish my presentation now, and thank you for listening, and look forward to any questions that you have at the end. Thank you. Thanks, Jonathan.
Jane Rexworthy from People1st, thank you so much indeed. Love the way that you're working, obviously, in hospitality and tourism as your core sector, but how you've then used that really to kind of touch on that cross-cutting gender, social inclusion and economic inclusion agenda as well, which is really key as you've outlined. And love the case studies and examples too, so brilliant. Thank you so much indeed. Next up, we have BSC Education. Daniel Atherton is an educator with more than 20 years of cross-industry experience. He has designed and delivered courses to BMW, Credit Suisse, the Italian Army and many others. He's a specialist in developing future-facing education courses which focus on 21st century skills and digital literacy. In partnership with the National Geographic Learning, he created the Skills for Success series of books and the British Study Centre's digital portfolio programme. He has supported many European universities and the national libraries in using digitised primary sources to develop critical thinking and information literacy and to build resilience against misinformation and disinformation. So Daniel, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Over to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Daniel. I'm the Product and Strategy Manager for BSC Education. BSC Education is a UK headquartered education and training provider, and we have colleges in London, Brighton, Manchester, York, Edinburgh, and new colleges in Bangkok and Malta. Our core business is language teaching, university pathways, teacher training, and transitional education. We're a future-facing company, and as we said, in partnership with Geographic Learning, we've developed an innovative program called Skills for Success. This course combines core skills such as language learning and digital skills, along with soft skills such as leadership and growth mindset. Now, these are often referred to as the 21st century skills. The course provides students with all the skills that they're going to need in this rapidly changing world. Skills for Success actually has two streams. One is focused on preparing students for work and the other for academia. Today, I'm going to talk about skills for this equips students for the modern workplace. This will be of interest to international employers, educators, and government bodies, and anyone who's responsible for bridging the gap between education and employment, because it addresses the key skills gaps that we've already spoken about this morning. So we recognised the need for this course back in 2019 when, as part of a regular review process, we re-examined why our English language students were coming to us and what it was that they needed their English for. Well, we know that most of our students are learning English as a means to an end, and the end is to succeed in their careers or their studies. But most of the courses on offer at that time focused on learning English language for its own sake. They tended to focus on things that English teachers consider important, rather than what people in the real work environments consider important. For example, if an Italian engineer is in a meeting with German engineers and says something like, "Our suppliers last month have done a mistake," an English teacher might care that there are 2 grammatical errors in there, but no one else in the room does. All they care about is finding out what the mistake is and what the consequences are. What's important for them and the employers is whether they can be concise and clear and persuasive, or whatever's needed in that context. And can they negotiate or build rapport in English? We also saw that our courses and those of other providers hadn't taken into account changes in working habits that had already taken place, let alone the big changes that we can see coming down the line. So although we came to this from a background in English language teaching, we recognise that English is only one of the skills required. And now most of you will be aware of what the 21st century skills are. They've been widely covered, including at the World Economic Forum. These are the skills that are needed as we continue to move into the world of ever more rapid technological change. Now, there are many ways that these skills can be described and grouped. But for the purposes today, I'm going to group them under 3 headings: communication, growth mindset, and collaboration. Skills for Success has been created specifically to develop these 3 skills groups with a combination of exclusive course books, project work, and coaching. The first group is hard skills such as language, digital skills, and information literacy. Digital skills are here because we teach students to communicate in English using common digital tools, whether this is hosting online meetings or remote projects, creating infographics, training videos, etc. We do this with project work, and the project work requires the use of Office 365, Google Workspace, Canva, etc. And the projects can be updated very rapidly to keep up with any new tools that become more commonplace. For information literacy, we mean being able to understand and interpret and present information in a clear and effective form. We place a high priority on understanding the conventions of graphical representation, and we teach these to our students. The second group of skills, growth mindset, are soft skills such as self-directed learning, entrepreneurship, and resilience. Now, these have always been important, but they're becoming increasingly important due to the increasing speed of change. This rapid pace of technological and social change means that workers need to take ownership of their own learning. We're not in a position where workers can sit back and expect to be told what it is that they need to learn. They need to be able to identify their own learning needs and pursue training themselves. And this is where the entrepreneurship and being a self-starter and being open to taking risks comes in. So all the change that we're facing at the moment can be really overwhelming. Over the last few years, we've all found ourselves in the position of having invested time and money and energy on projects, only to have to rip them up and start again as goalposts have moved. And so resilience has become ever more important. You may feel that these are things which are inherent personality traits, that people either have them or they don't. But while we might be starting from different points, we know that education systems can instill and develop these attributes in people. In short, they can be trained. But we also know that many national education systems struggle to do this. The third group is collaboration, cross-cultural skills, influence, task management. This includes leadership, persuasion, conflict resolution, etc. Now, alongside the changes in technology and information, another major change that we've seen over the last 20 years, and which we expect to continue, is the growth in international work teams. This means that team members, they need to learn how to work cross-culturally. So how do you ensure, for example, that your European team members don't just talk over your Japanese team members? I know this is a cliche, but I've seen it happen 1,000 times. Okay. So that's the aim of the course. That's the what and the why. Now we need to talk about the how, because even though these skills are widely recognized, mainstream education systems really struggle to prepare their students for the workplace. Fortunately, we can do this. We have the flexibility to do this. As I mentioned before, our course comprises of 3 main components: books, project work, and coaching based around a digital portfolio. The books present practical language skills, the projects teach digital skills and collaboration, and the portfolio develops self-directed learning. The books have been created exclusively for this course in partnership with National Geographic Learning. They provide targeted language input, including presentation techniques, such as using personalization, visualization, taking the listener on a journey. And they use a lot of TED Talks for this. They also provide other rhetorical techniques. Now, as I said, we want people to be able to engage, persuade, and negotiate. We're not so interested in precise grammatical accuracy. Most units start with an infographic. The availability of graphic design tools like Canva and now Mid-Journey means that visual presentation of information is becoming much more important. Many employers encounter people who they may know how to use a platform like Canva, but they don't really understand graphical conventions. They don't know how to make graphics clear. And these books allow us to develop this knowledge alongside conventional language learning. The second component is project work. So each week there's a collaborative group project, and these projects replicate real-world tasks such as creation of infographics, training videos, presentations, or business plans. For this, the students need to use a range of common digital productivity tools like Office 365, Canva, and Google Workspace. We make sure that we use a variety of ecosystems so that students become familiar with the shared design grammar of these apps. And this means that when they come to the workplace, they can pick up and use new tools very quickly. And that's a very valuable skill for an employer. The teams are always multilingual and the projects are done in English. This helps them to develop the practical English skills that are required. The third component is the digital portfolio and coaching. Each student has their own digital portfolio, which is hosted on a free, widely available platform. And this is where the students store and showcase their work. But the portfolio is much more than a scrapbook. It's the spine around which the self-directed learning and coaching is built. Let me explain. So each week, the student uploads the outcome of the group project. In this case, you can see it's e-scooters in Paris. and the problems associated with e-scooters in Paris. Each student is then given a very detailed list of can-do statements, and this is sometimes called a competency framework or a skills framework. It's over 30 pages and it covers everything from traditional language skills to all of the 21st century collaboration skills. With support from the trainer, the students then analyse the production of the project, and they identify the individual skills that were needed and when they were needed. This develops a deep understanding and a strong focus on self-evaluation. Success is measured by the outcome of the project and not on the accuracy of language, as is the case with most traditional courses. This means that students are not focused on irrelevancies of grammatical accuracy in the way they might be in other courses. It also means that they're able to independently evaluate their own success and to identify the areas they need to work on. And this is something that's lacking in many mainstream educational systems, and it's something we can help you to incorporate into your education and training programs. So after they've analysed their performance, the student can then decide with the support of a trainer on an action plan to target these skills. So they identify the areas for improvement and then they develop an action plan. And this is one of the real strengths of the approach, because we're equipping people to take ownership of their own learning. And this is going to be critical for their success and the success of the companies that employ them in the future. Earlier, I mentioned resilience, and project work, the projects that we set are not easy, and they're not intended to be easy, and sometimes they will fail. However, by using this coaching approach that we do with the portfolio, failure can be seen as an opportunity to learn. Now, as well as all of the above, the portfolio also allows students to demonstrate their skills to employers. And students, they really see the value in this, and they find it very motivating, which is very useful because it can be quite hard to explain all the pedagogical rationales behind the course. But having said that, some of our students do see it and they do understand it, especially if they have a background in education. Now, in this picture here, you can see this is Richard. He's a data scientist and an educational consultant. I met him in Seoul recently. He's just finished a PhD and published a book on preparing the workforce and society for the impact of AI. He came to study with us at our college in York, and he did Skills for Success and he loved it. And one of the things he mentioned to me when I was talking to him was that he felt that many Korean employees have a fear of being seen to make mistakes. And this can act as a barrier, both to their risk-taking and to their creativity. And he felt that our project work, combined with the portfolio and coaching, could help break these habits and help them see that failure is the basis of learning. It's how you plot your route to success. So how can we help you? Well, we understand the challenges of incorporating all these skills into mainstream education or into training courses. We know how to integrate them and we know how to use these tools. So our expertise will definitely be able to save you time and money if you want to implement any of these changes. If you want to know any more, please contact me. I've got my email on the slide there. It's daniel.atherton@bsc.education. And I look forward to any of your questions later. Thank you.
Daniel, thank you so much indeed. Really good, actually. Really interesting to hear about entrepreneurship, a big skill that people need these days to get on in life,
Yes.
rather than, you know, get up and find that life has gone. So really important. Thank you so much for sharing. We must move on now to our next speaker. If we've got any questions, by the way, they'll come up in the end session. Please do, as a reminder, everybody, to put your questions into the chat or the Q&A section of Teams. It doesn't matter which one you use, we'll pick up those questions. We've got quite a few that have come through already. Lovely to see you, Jason Holt. Jason Holt is the CEO and co-founder of Metaverse Learning, which is the culmination of a career starting, building and growing businesses in education, technology and the jewelry sectors, because he comes from the Holt's group of companies. His experience as both a major employer of apprentices and training provider has impressed upon Jason the importance of employer-led education in skills and productivity. Jason was awarded CBE by the Queen for his services to the jewellery sector and apprentices. We are really privileged to have you here today, Jason. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Great to be here. Great to hear the speakers talk about the sorts of things that sort of keep me up at night. And so I'm delighted to talk to you about how we at Metaverse Learning are addressing some of these challenges. And the way we're doing it is really picking up on sort of Dimple's point about skills shortages, Jane talking about skimflation and issues of service, and Daniel talking about how to integrate various tools. And we are all about simulating the real world of work environments so learners can acquire the skills they need to succeed. And we are doing this in I think a quite unique way, which is this technology is quite inaccessible to the majority of organizations who want to upskill or reskill or are in the education sector. And we convene partners. So you can see a variety of logos there. These are all our partners, and we convene them in what we call consortia. They tell us what they want in terms of any kind of virtual reality, augmented reality, virtual environment, and we build to their specification. So any one of our programs might have 5, 10, 15 different partners. We have about 50% of the FE college market in the UK, and we have partners all around the world who are telling us what they want. We are the technology company that build it for them. And what is the problem? What is the why? Well, the why is that we hear from the education sector pretty much everywhere around the world the issue of limited resource, whether it's finding tutors, whether it is the material costs, whether it is the energy costs. There is a need for keeping quality but doing it more cost effectively. We know about learner engagement and the issues of completion rates. For example, in apprenticeships, we know more or less 50% of apprentices do not complete their apprenticeship. So what is that about? And I think part of that is around their changing needs. People, we know that learners want sort of here and now bite-sized chunks of learning that gets them to an outcome that is positive. They're not necessarily interested in a long-term course that may or may not deliver the outcome they want. And we know that employers, as we've heard across the last few speakers, are really needing to be more engaged and wanting those skills that are lacking in the system. So what do we do? What is what is that we build 3 kind of solutions to this. One is virtual reality. You'll be familiar with the headsets. If those of you who are lucky to have headsets available for your workforce or for your learners, fantastic. And we all our programs are delivered to various different headsets, particularly the Oculus, which you prefer. But actually, our default is we don't want any learner left behind. That's our motto. So no matter what technology you might have, whether it's your device, your laptop, your tablet, all our programs work on that. And augmented reality is something that we are now very used to, and we build to that too. And I will show you an example of that. And really, this is about building practical skills, learning those soft skills we've heard about just earlier, making sure that anyone who is doing these programs are practicing and building confidence in the area of work they're interested in. So I'm going to illustrate what I'm talking about. So we've got a catalogue of programs. We have about 18 programs at the moment. We are currently building in cybersecurity, in CommieChef, to Jane's point around hospitality, retrofit, maths. We're also building ESOL, to Daniel's point. So what we are talking about is sort of a contextualized experience. So these are just short show reels, which I'll just quickly skim through. We'll sort of whistle stop tour. So you'll see our partners here. You'll see our navigation tools. So if you are a gamer, majority of our learners are gamers in some form. Of course, it's the number one hobby of that sort of 16 to 18-year-old age group. But you know, they're even someone, a dinosaur like me, can manage to navigate. And so what you'll see here is a set of tasks that are, so this is a training tool for welding and fabrication. Right from the word go, you're applying sort of functional skills, Pythagoras theorem, which is something you need for understanding the way in which you approach a welding and fabrication problem. You are needing to put on your PPE, and so the power of the immersiveness, so you are in full control of the interactivity, and at the heart of this is about engagement. And the heart of this is about, we know that 90% of learning is experiential. So you are experiencing what it would be like taking the theory that you've learned in a classroom or online and then applying it in a real world setting. So as you're going through this scenario, I'm going to sort of fast forward to the sort of the point at which you're then applying the that sort of mathematical sort of functional skills in maths to templating your steel before you have a go. And you know, to the point around shortage of materials and costs, well, the beauty is in the virtual world you will have no wasted material. You can do this 100 times and it will not cost $1 or penny or whichever currency you deal with. You can practice, and so by the time you're actually doing it for real, the beauty is you are you are saving a huge amount of cost. We know that from our customers, they save about 30% of material costs just by using our programs. And if we again fast forward this, you get to a point, you know, you're learning the tacking method here. So all that kind of muscle dexterity, muscle memory is being applied, and we get to the end and you'll see immediately that I've got 30%. I'm a lousy welder, but I can practice. You can see where I've made mistakes. You can print your certificate of completion and you can learn, find out the right answers. So that sort of same principle applies to all our programs, whether the sequence events that you are, or tasks that you need to learn to do this safely. And the beauty of simulation, a bit like being in a flight simulator in a pilot, as a pilot learning to fly, is that you can crash the plane and nothing happens in that simulator. In the same way, you can walk up this ladder. This is a solar thermal program, so teaching solar thermal engineers how to spec out a home to put solar panels on their home. And by the way, all these programs can be translated very easy into all different languages, because there isn't actually that much text. And we can localize. So this is a UK house, but if you are in a different part of the world, we can localize it to the kind of architecture or culture that you are used to. But the beauty here, so our learners, we hear some don't realize you have to walk up ladders, and so that whole notion of working to heights might be something you're not really appreciating until you do these programs. And if I get fast forward, sorry, we've got very little time, you'll see again my score, the certificate of completion. I'm a bit better at solar thermals than I am at welding fabrication. Good to know for my future career choice. We'll skip through to health and social care.
Jason, sorry, Jason, to cut across you, just because you're having such a good time and this is of interest, you've got a bit more time. You've got up to 9:30, so don't rush.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Good to know. So in this example here, I'm a healthcare worker. Now, how do you, as a learner, practice what it would be like to go into someone's home to care for them? In this case, this patient, you're told, has Parkinson. This is actually a program we developed with about 13 colleges, majority Welsh colleges, and so we've got this in Welsh and English. And you go in, you can't hear the sound, but in the actual, and by the way, anyone interested in finding out more, we can give you a 2-week free license of all our programs, so you can have a go yourself. But what you'll hear are the sounds of somebody, you see their collapse on the floor. What do you do in this situation? How would you teach this in terms of the sandwich between the theory and the practical? So the first thing, of course, is about communication skills. You know, how is the person communicating? It isn't about dialing 999, because every second counts. You also need to know, are you in danger as a care worker yourself? You know, has there been a gas leak, for example? So as you determine, you know, is this person, you know, how imminently in danger they are. Are you in danger? Has there been a carbon monoxide leak? You then sort of go to the next stages before, again, I will fast forward, but you can then get a sense to the various steps. So then you call the emergency services. You make the patient comfortable. And so what we are finding, for certainly in the UK around T levels, is that we have 8 different scenarios in care homes, in someone else's home, and in hospitals. And that is a really fantastic way to know as a learner, what kind of area of care would you like to be in? Would you like to be in dementia care? Would you like to be in areas around elderly? So, and there's my final score. I'm not such a bad care worker. You can see the 5 areas this is mapped to. You can see where I've gone wrong in the same way that we've talked about. And again, you're done. So this could be an assessment tool. And ultimately what we want is to be a summative assessment tool. I'll just do one final scenario. Jonathan's very kindly given me a couple more minutes. So this is our electrical vehicle charge points. We know about the EV revolution. How do you teach how to install EV charge points in and so this I think I've always thought this guy looks a bit like Michael Lewis, and he is your tutor in this example, and he is telling you step by step what you need to do to understand how to set up and install these EV charge points in a cityscape. And you know, the quality of this and the interactivity. So we know that 91% of learners prefer this type of learning to straight e-learning. We know that completion rates are substantially higher for those learners using these programs, and these programs are used by tutors. It's not replacing the tutor, it's an aid to tutors to really kind of make sure that they are engaging their learners. It could be front of class, it could be setting homework for learners to practice, but it's about illustrating by example what this means in the real world of work. And again, I get to the end and I'm pretty good at EV charge points. No, so I'm now going to move on to something that bring this to life. So if you've got your phones to hand, if you scan that QR code, what this will bring up on, hopefully on your desk, is a 3-dimensional set of lungs. And why we are illustrating this, so in all our learning, we've got quite a lot of e-learning as well, and intermeshed with the e-learning and the virtual scenarios is augmented reality. And so this is a way in which you might, as an educator, consider using augmented reality. And we, you know, being a technology company, we can very quickly mass inventorize ways in which you could bring to life certain elements of your curriculum, whether it is lungs or whether it is elements of language to do with what Daniel, or hospitality to do what Jane mentioned. So I don't know if you've got your lungs on your desk, but it's pretty compelling. Very quickly, we're a technology company always thinking about how to move this to the next level. And in virtual reality, it is a real navigate into, zoom in and zoom out, but great to see. Thank you, Jonathan. The thing I want to highlight here is that we've now created a way in which you could assess your learners virtually from one end of the world to the other, and you can step into their body. You can be them and see where they're hesitating, where they're making mistakes, where they are doing well, and give them instant feedback. Now, this is something that has never been done in the world of immersive learning. So we're super excited about the fact that all our programs will in the future have these sort of ways in which you can remotely assess and supervise and support your learners. I'm now going to bring you something completely different. So we are calling this Metaverse Hub. This is again about the immersive and collaborative nature of this technology. Very quickly. So what we've done with Metaverse Hub is create various different templated platforms that organizations can license. We have 2 different models. One is being a partner, being instrumental in what we create, and then just licensing. So this is a straight license. We're making this very affordable. So you can have your own campus. You are in control of everything this campus has in terms of content. The actual this particular template is fixed, but in terms of the branding, in terms of what you call it, whether it is the Jonathan Ledger Academy or whatever it might be, you are in full control. And as we, again, I'm going to quickly, but you have ways in which you can interact with people. You have ways in which you can download your goodie bag of brochures or freebies as you would in the real world. And we're super excited about that. We've now launched this with about a dozen or so colleges in the UK, many various different private organisations. We've had sort of COP26 use this technology, and we are now rolling this out into the wider sector. So I'm just going to fast forward this. So we have a way in which you can, almost like a web 3D, you can choose whether it's medicine or whether it's engineering or whether it's languages, you can choose your area, you can then click the screen. For those of you who are as old as I am, you remember Mr. Ben, you can dress up, he goes to the changing room, he dresses up as an astronaut and suddenly he's in a space station. So as you click the screen, you'll see you're immersed into a new area. This is an environment around construction skills. So if I go through here, you can see all the different courses that this particular college is using, whether it's bricklaying or carpentry or plastering, and you can interact with this. The world is your oyster. It just needs your imagination. So, and just finally, we've just done for the Welsh Government last week an anti-racism program. So how do you engage around issues around discrimination, inclusivity? And so again, you don't have the sound. This is, by the way, available online. And so what we've created for the Welsh Government is a way in which you can go into different zones and really understand different cultures. I'm going to fast forward this. So as I go into this is a typical street in Wales. You can go into someone's home. You can find out, in this particular case, it's a Muslim home, and you can find out different cultures. It's in 2 different languages, English and Welsh. But of course, that you can have. We've done things in 16 different languages, and you can really get to understand the different types of foods, different types of literature, poetry that you might find in Wales. Really bringing an understanding, and so having this way in which you are immersing the learner or the person who's doing this in a very different way to bring to life. This is all different cultures. This is about for those online from India. So this is a way in which all those cultures that have come to Wales to really bring an understanding through this interactive, powerfully visual way. And this is at the heart of what we're doing, bringing the power of visualization in a way that is accessible no matter where you are. I'm going to finish there, and I'm just to conclude, this is who I am, my co-founder, Majid Al-Qadir. You can download our brochure. We are looking for partners, and hopefully this has been a helpful example of what we've done at Metaverse Learning.
Jason, thank you so much indeed, and really brilliant that it's so interactive. Even I could have a go on my phone whilst you're talking away there, so I'm sure many others did. So huge thanks to you, and we look forward to hearing from you again later in the week, because we've got your colleague Majid on. But we'd stay with us. We've got some questions already coming in for you, so we look forward to putting those to you. And now we're moving on to Claire Montague. Claire Montague is from NCFE awarding organisation. Actually, NCFE is much more than just an awarding organisation, as Claire will explain. Claire is the Senior Manager for Health, Science and Social Care. With a background in social care and education, Claire has worked in a leadership capacity across care services, as well as schools, further education and higher education settings. In her current role, she collaborates with the sector to gain key intelligence, to keep abreast of initiatives, advocate for investment in the workforce. As part of an end-to-end process, she is committed to ensuring that their growing offer is simultaneously aligned with the evolving sector of health and social care. Claire, a very good morning to you. Lovely to have you with us. Over to you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good morning, everybody. Okay, I just wanted to open the presentation today by considering the changing environment for health and social care in the UK and the impact that drivers have on workforce, specifically workforce skill sets. So I hope that this will set the scene. So first and foremost, the health and social care system belongs in every community. However, we know that there are many challenges which pose a potential threat to the delivery and quality of services. We celebrate that we're living longer, but we need to recognise that many more of us are developing long-term health conditions. So lifestyle factors are contributing to chronic disease, as are wider determinants of ill health. So these demographic forecasts suggest that more people will require more care in the future and that their needs will become more complex. Of course, this impacts on our health and care services and is further exacerbated in that the workforce is not increasing in line with care demands. In terms of service models, there is very much a focus on prevention, where the intention is to reduce or delay the need to access health and social care services. So, for example, consider the importance and role of early intervention strategies, assistive technologies, the promotion of active, healthy living, processes of behaviour change, reablement and self-care, for example. Simultaneously, in line with this, the need for care and support in community settings is increasing, and therefore its vital capacity is built, where assets are brought together to facilitate and strengthen provision. Ultimately, also, there are higher expectations of service delivery in relation to what health and social care can and should deliver. Turning also the social, political, economic and environmental and regulatory world we live in presents health and social care with further demands. However, we must recognise with demands comes opportunities, and it's these opportunities that we must acknowledge and capitalise upon. The interdependence of health and social care is increasingly evident and important. Both sectors face similar pressures, so the sustainability of each sector is dependent on the success of the other, and so fully integrated services will ultimately enable that coordinated care. Of course, care will also continue to benefit from research, technology and innovation, and this will ultimately impact on the shape, size and skill set of the workforce. So, in summary, to respond to these drivers, employers need to be able to invest in a workforce that is skilled and knowledgeable. The workforce also needs to be able to work in perhaps different ways and in perhaps emerging organisations. So that means that new skill sets may need to be developed and implemented. Ultimately, practitioners must be able to work collaboratively, in partnership, ensure personalised care, harness new technologies and promote independence. So it's about instilling those values central to practice. Turning now, I wanted to just focus in and hone in on social care. So the government in the policy paper, People at the Heart of Care, Adult Social Care Reform, have set out a 10-year vision for adult social care and provide information on funded proposals that will be implemented over the next 3 years. In line with the drivers just discussed, there is a real focus on ensuring personalised care, so where people have choice, control and support to live independent lives. There's a real focus on sustainability in terms of supporting sustainable care markets and integrated practices, so driving that integration of health and social care. There's a real focus on prevention to include a development of preventative services, so increasing the care and support options available and providing the right information and advice to allow people to plan for the to a focus on technology and digital transformation, where the aim is to accelerate adoption of technology and achieve that widespread digitalisation across the sectors. Within the white paper as well, there is a recognition of the role of unpaid carers and the importance of understanding their contribution to the sector and measures to ensure that they're treated fairly and to kickstart a change in services to support. But really, really importantly, there is a drive to ensure there is an empowered and rewarded workforce. So that is one that is recognised and valued for their skills and commitment, which is really important in this rapidly changing world. So within the white paper, the government have pledged to invest £5.4 billion over 3 years, and there's a minimum £500 million to revolutionise the way the social care workforce is supported. And key within that is the development of a universal knowledge and skills framework. So the framework has identified career pathways to support progression, and this is back investment in learning and development to promote workforce wellbeing. So their plans is also for the creation of a new digital hub to enable the workforce to gain information, advice and guidance, and it will also be access provided to a learning and development portable log, so an opportunity to record training qualifications undertaken and that they are transferable. The goal of this strategy for the workforce is to create both a qualified and importantly valued workforce, able to work in an integrated way to provide that outstanding personalised care. So the intention is to be able to hear practitioners in adult social care say, social care is a rewarding career with clear opportunities to develop and progress, and where I feel valued in my role. I feel recognised for my existing skills and I'm able to develop new skills and take on new challenges as I become more experienced. And I have the technology to use, the confidence to use technology that supports people's needs and frees up time to deliver outstanding care. And also that I'm able to work effectively with professionals from other organisations, including the NHS, housing and community services, learning from each other's practice and supporting each other to achieve shared goals. So what is our role within this? Well, as an awarding organisation, we work across the health, social care and education sectors to support, to grow and develop a caring quality workforce. To ensure our offer reflects the national agenda and associated priorities that we've discussed, we readily engage and build partnerships with others, such as government departments, professional bodies, public sector organisations, regulatory bodies, subject matter experts, employers, and indeed learners to obtain key sector intelligence. So our qualifications meet these evolving needs, where quality training results in positive outcomes for all. So our regulated qualifications, which provide a benchmark of quality, so in essence a measure of external validation, are nationally recognised and owned by NCFE. Of course, it's inevitable with the evolving nature of the health and social care sectors, impacts on our approach to qualifications offered to develop a skilled and diverse workforce enabled to embrace such rapid change. So I'd just like to take the opportunity to introduce you to our portfolio at a very high level. So we offer a full range of qualifications. Some qualifications provide an introduction to the sector, whilst others confirm occupational competence, being reflective of different roles and responsibilities. We too have a range of qualifications with technical status, empowering learners for the future, equipping them with core knowledge alongside industry relevant skills, preparing for progression to further study, employment or higher education. Many of our products though have been developed to support continuous professional development. So our qualifications meet the diverse needs of learners from new entrants right through to experienced practitioners. They reflect the priorities as well as create career opportunities and pathways for all who work, support or care within the sector. Moving away from our regulated offer, I wanted to introduce you to our accreditation and employer services. And they offer you, if you want to give your bespoke in-house training and qualifications something extra with official recognition. So we have two different products to choose from. They are customised qualifications and endorsed programmes. So customised qualifications are the perfect solution for you if you have training needs that regulated qualifications aren't meeting. So customised qualifications are unregulated qualifications which are written and owned by you, whilst benchmarked against national qualification framework, and they have learning outcomes and assessment criteria. With customised qualifications, we issue your certificates which demonstrate the new skills, knowledge and competence your employers have achieved. Our other product, endorsed programmes, will suit you if you have informal, continuous professional development training activities with no formal assessment, but that you'd like to be quality benchmarked. So with endorsed programmes, you have the freedom to issue certificates of attendance and completion to your delegates without having to request them from us. And so you're able to add our endorsed logo to your certificates to sit side by side with your own branding, helping to reinforce the quality of your training. So to sum up, really, both products, our customised qualifications and our endorsed programmes, are the perfect fit if you're looking to develop and upskill through continuous professional development, if you're looking to address skills gaps with an accredited bespoke in-house solution, if you're looking to align learning programmes to business goals, or if you're looking to create and embed a culture of learning. I just wanted to highlight at NCFE, we do have a range of teams to support delivery of our products and services. So to name a few, we have a dedicated business development team within which there sits an international arm. We have in-house sector managers and subject specialists on hand to support and advise in relation to sector-related queries. Furthermore, we have a provider development team for onboarding and ongoing continuous teaching and learning support. And last but not least, we have our quality team to include our dedicated external quality assurers. So to bring all of this discussed together, I would like to share an international case study with you to illustrate the development of a customised programme with the aim and intention of fulfilling and enhancing skills. So NCFE has been working with Save the Children, an influential charity, since 2017 on a competency-based approach to assessment with a clear aim to strengthen the social care workforce. This competence-based programme is known as Compact. So Compact is a really exciting initiative that has been piloted with child protection colleagues in Asia. It is based on Save the Children's behavioural competency framework and technical competency framework to offer staff qualifications and accreditation that is relevant to their specific role within the organisation. For child protection staff in Save the Children, this means they can aim for achieving a child protection qualification at an appropriate level in line with their role, so they can achieve a qualification at leading edge, at accomplished, or at a skilled level. Throughout this scheme, participants demonstrate and provide evidence of their competence and professionalism against a clear set of standards that are comparable across the whole of the Save the Children movement. So the scheme enables child protection staff to develop a clearer career path and a further reason to feel valued and inspired. All participants are allocated an assessor to technically support and mentor them through the process of assessment and accreditation. And NCFE accredit the Compact programme. So within, staff are encouraged to make the most out of everyday experiences in their roles and development goals to ensure and generate evidence against competencies. Where there are gaps in evidence, staff will be directed to relevant training and experiences within their roles, which will enable them to generate evidence accordingly. To date, internal staff at Save the Children have seen graduates in several roles. So this includes District Child Protection Officers in India, which is a role aligned to the social worker in the UK. The Community Cadre role, which is a village support responsibility for children, young people and families in India. And also have seen graduates as caseworkers and case supervisors in Myanmar. Growth across two further thematic areas is now underway with child-sensitive social poverty and food security, as well as children's rights. The accreditation partnership is very much valued by Save the Children and is showcased as best practice with other non-government organisations, including close work with UNICEF. So ultimately, this partnership is leading the way in strengthening the social care workforce internationally. Changes are already underway as a result of the programme. In India, the ministry has adopted the Community Cadre programme, so that village support role, and mandates this across several regions. This is a huge step forward for child protection and children's rights, and it all started with Compact. So we're extremely privileged to have been involved from the very start. It's been a real team effort and a strategic partnership that we all feel very proud of, and significantly, of course, hope for a better future for children, young people and families through a stronger, competent workforce. So just to close, I wanted to share with you feedback received from Claire Alsop, who is a learning specialist at Save the Children. So Claire says, working with NCFE has undoubtedly enhanced the professionalisation and credibility of the programme. The competency-based approach to accreditation is even more relevant and accessible to our participants, given the practical nature of their day-to-day work. compact accredit staff who, for the most part, do not have a formal qualification in their area of work and expertise, such as child protection and child's rights. This has enabled us to recognise and document their achievements, which hasn't been possible previously. As well as benefiting individual learners, this helps their managers, often themselves not experts in this area, to understand the level of expertise of their staff. The partnership with NCFE has given the scheme and the accreditation a level of credibility and rigour that we could not have achieved independently, from the design of individual qualifications to the training and support for assessors to the quality assurance processes. Our learners have reported feeling more recognised and valued for their professional expertise, and even more motivated to continue delivering impact for children. This has also had an impact on our staff retention. Participants who have completed the programme feel more supported and clearer about their career development within the organisation, with some also leveraging their accreditation to move on to more senior roles and responsibilities. Okay, so that brings me to the end of the presentation. I hope you found this overview useful, and thank you very, very much for listening. And of course, if you'd like more information regarding how we can support you, we'd be really happy to talk to you. Thank you.
Claire, thank you so much indeed. A really rich understanding there of an awarding organisation and all the facets that an awarding organisation like NCFE has. So thank you so much indeed for sharing that and the case study at the end. If I could ask all the speakers to come back online, please, and we'll start with the questions. We have a whole bank of questions that have come in, so we'll work our way through the questions. If you have any more questions, please put them in the chat if you don't mind. We're not accepting people to come on live with their questions, so we're going to do these all via the chat system, and I will read them out, and then we'll see which of our panelists can answer that. So I think we're still Daniel's there, Stephen's there. Who are we missing? Are we missing anybody else? Great. Okay. So let's begin with the questions if we can then. So I think, Stephen, this one's a question for you. How do I begin to look at implementing green or sustainable IT?
Oh, wow, good. That's a good question. Well, I think the first thing I do is I take a look on the BCS website just to see what resources are available, because there will be plenty there available for non-members as well as members of BCS. There are a number of specialist groups which you can access through BCS, one on green IT. If they reach out to me, I can give them the link to that particular specialist group. It has a number of academics as well as business people involved. They present maybe 1 or 2 webinars a month around the issues of IT. I'll try and put the link in the chat, and then whoever's written the question can reach out to us. But I think, yeah, fundamentally, there's a green IT charter as well, so I can share the link to that and give them access to that. But there's lots of things around at the moment. It's a real issue, a major issue, as I mentioned before, about climate change and the impact on green IT. So yeah, there's lots to access.
Great, thank you. And another question which is aimed at you, which is how can our organisation engage with BCS in the ASEAN region?
Oh, just reach out to me. So I put my details in the chat. I'm sure people can access that for the rest of the day or the rest of the week. We work globally, so we're all over the place. We work in practically every country with either delivering some sort of training component, some membership. We have, as I said, 15,000 members around the world. Someone just contacted me from China just now, having listened to this presentation, and so we're accessible anywhere in the world. So yeah, just reach out to me and I can discuss with them further.
Thanks very much. We'll be sharing contact details anyway on the website later, so really brilliant. I've got a question for Dimple if she's online, but I don't think she's still online. So we'll come back to Dimple's question, and we will jump into a question for Jane, I think, actually for anybody that wants to kind of pick in. But do you recommend setting up sector skills councils in hospitality or tourism? I'm really impressed by your engagement with industry, and is this the only way to do it? Jane?
Oh, it's a really interesting question. And in fact, what we've seen over the last few years, I'm working in, for example, Jamaica, Georgia, and I've worked in the Philippines on sector skills organisations, councils in the last few years. And I think what's really important is whether they're called a sector skills council or a sector body, it's actually industry's involvement and finding a way of having industry come together around the skills agenda. And I think it's not the same in every country. The governance methodology is not always the same. The connection and link to government is not always the same. In some instances, government will lead on that setup. In other instances, industry will be the driver and lead on it. What I would say, though, is there are a huge amount of tools and support around the setup of sector bodies. We were privileged to work on a vet toolbox project in Uganda when they were looking at setting up for hospitality and tourism. And on the vet toolbox site, you'll see a really nice booklet, a paper about 60 pages that gives the details around what the benefits are and how to go about it, what's important within that structure. So it's a really good question, and I would say not one size fits all, but actually you do need industry behind any decision making around skills, and having some way of bringing them together, whether through trade bodies, chambers of commerce, or through industry itself, is really important.
Thanks very much. And actually leading on nicely to a question for everybody, which is, you've all talked about employer engagement. How do you actually engage with employers? Because it's something that many countries are trying to do but have not achieved yet to any great scale. So who'd like to start with that? Jason.
Well, the old expression, you need to get them onto the journey with you, comes to mind. So in our case, the solutions we bring on employers from the word go, because the employer voice needs to be heard in the development of these solutions. And if they're involved from day one, it means they're more likely to adopt it into their own organizations, because they've had a hand in creating, and this sort of co-creation model that we have in terms of building that engagement. So and I've seen that beyond the kind of the metaverse learning side. I've seen that in apprenticeships generally. If they feel that they're part and parcel of the system because they are authors of the curriculum, they're far more likely to use it. So get them involved in the creation of the content as early as possible.
Absolutely
Great,
agree with
Any
Jason.
more? Yeah.
No, just to say that was exactly right. Involved from the start.
Great. Jane, I think this question's aimed at you, because it's what innovations have you seen in gender, social and economic inclusion, and are people doing enough in this space?
So we are seeing innovation well, in fact, it's not innovation, it's actually just best practice. It's about how, in as much as if you're recruiting, how do you write a job advert that's going to be inclusive? Just the use of particular words will show and demonstrate inclusion. And so it's actually about quite simple practices that are putting it at every stage and demonstrating to anyone that's coming into the workplace what career opportunities there are. So innovation comes from really that starting post of recruitment, and it's that retention of that workforce by letting them know what their career journey might be with you, how you're going to support them regardless of gender. And I think it's really important. This is not about a gender, and it's not about supporting one over the other. It's about that complete inclusion and also that support for marginalised groups. So transformation comes about using simple practice, and there's some great practice all around the world that can be used and to demonstrate that.
Thank you, Jane. Thanks so much. A question, I think, for Claire primarily, but again, it's one of those things where everyone can chip in. You mentioned qualifications and training. Are these available worldwide, and are they accepted worldwide, particularly your customised training?
The customised training, because it is part of your programme, it's something that you develop, then that would be recognised, obviously, for your market, the delegates that you're training. So that could be across the UK and it could be international. Save the Children being one example of a customised qualifications. Now that applies specifically to areas in Asia that we've been working with as it stands, because it's very specific to their requirements in terms of their frameworks and their regulation. So their social work workforce in India and Myanmar would be different, obviously, from in the UK. The purposes are the same, but the regulation around that would be different. So your customised qualifications, definitely, because they reflect programmes and to meet skills needs that you've identified.
Thank you so much, Claire. I'm going to jump to that question on screen to you, Jason, which is how close to reality is the metaverse in terms of learning, in terms of training hard skills, so practical skills like welding and any other hard skills that exist. So, Jason,
you just saved me from pressing send on the. Just about to type the answer. So the lens you need to see this is that this is created by subject and industry matter experts. We are not the experts in any one of our solutions. So welding and fabrication, these are what has been determined to be included in this in the immersed environment are the experts. So it absolutely is close to reality. Obviously, it's virtual reality, so you are to some extent still missing that sort of in-person sort of sense of what it would be like. But our data shows that 70% of the skills of whether it's welding, fabrication, or as healthcare can be acquired in this virtual simulation. So yes, it's incredible. It's and very powerful.
Thank you so much indeed, Jason, for answering that. There's a general question here about key innovations and changes. So what key innovations and changes do the speakers see happening in skills education in the next 5 to 10 years? That's a big question that stumped you all.
Well,
Jane.
There's so many. I think you've heard from our speakers, and I think Jason's kind of made it really clear. The change in learning is that it's hybrid. Learning is never going to be just one way and one style of learning. It's always going to need to incorporate self-learning, different using technology, using AI, using virtual reality. It's using face-to-face classrooms. We need all of those interventions. You can't really do a really excellent learning without having incorporated all of those aspects. But even, you know, our assessments, you've heard, you know, again, you've seen from Jason some of those examples. Some of these tools are amazing because they can test people in safe environments in a way that we've never been able to do before. So it's a really exciting time. It's going to be challenging though, because it is expensive and you want to get it right. And I think what I would say is we work with partners. You cannot be expert in everything. So getting excellent partners that know how to do it is really important. And I think that's one of the things we do really well at UK Skills Partnership is we know how to work with each other around coming with those solutions, whether it's in the UK or internationally. And that's really my recommendation on that.
Thank you very much, Jane. Stephen, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, no, I'd back everything that Jane said there. But I'd also add that I've seen a kind of a change in the last year or so with the much more focus on skills, as you would say, Jonathan. Definitely something that's interesting everybody. Maybe I know it's not exclusive, but a shift away from the kind of academic pathway through to learning and more on the job learning, more skills learning, more continued professional development as well. So kind of more bite-sized courses being taken, micro-credentialing, things like that. So people are now more engaged with keeping their skills up to date and less focused, well, in my world anyway, they seem to be more focused on kind of on the CPD and the kind of apprenticeship route than the academic route, which is interesting to see a change. And there might be reasons for that, obviously, with the cost of learning going up at the moment.
I think it's about time, Stephen. You know, if higher education has had so many billions over the years, how come we got a skills shortage? So that I think is the crux of it, and people have started to adjust to that real new world reality. As Dimple's come online, I did have a couple of questions for Dimple, so I'd like to ask those questions to you, Dimple, if I can, please. And that is What elements of your training in particular cover AI and future tech and robotics, especially covering things like Industry 5?
So currently our programs are very much around data. So we do Python, coding. So really kind of building that baseline for, for AI as well. You've got to understand data. So I think just building those baseline skills in order to work in those sectors. And we're constantly developing programs. So one of the programs we've most recently launched is digital accessibility, because, 1 in 5 people have either permanent or impermanent disabilities. And since all services are going online, so that's what we've launched recently. We've trained about 30 individuals already. We've got 20 apprentices on program, and we're going to start running more short courses from September. So it's really kind of constantly evolving and developing in terms of the landscape. We are looking at AI, but again, there's so much in AI. Where do you start? So it's really kind of having that feedback from employers to understand what the requirements are.
Thank you so much. Another question for you as well, if I can. Somebody's just trying to come in at the same time, so that doesn't help. Right, okay, so the question for you is, you mentioned 8.3 trillion to the GDP, and someone's just said, whose GDP? Is that global GDP or one particular country?
That's global GDP.
Great, and next question is, you mentioned something called boot camps. Are boot camps available worldwide?
Yes. Because they run online, so they are available worldwide.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. A question for you, Daniel, I think. Entrepreneurial skills and vocational English has become a priority in the last few years. Entrepreneurship was really aimed at, in the old days, I guess, at people that were starting new businesses. But, now we're all expected to be entrepreneurs in leadership and in our own businesses and, as an employee. How can we implement these programs in Vietnam?
Well, that's a really broad question. I would say that you need to develop the idea of autonomy early on. The earlier that you can get it integrated into the education system, the better. People need to take ownership of their own learning, and to do this they need to be given confidence to do this. So this can be trained and it can be encouraged through a kind of step-by-step approach in school. Again, project work is really important, putting people together in teams and then evaluating them on the outcome of the project rather than picking holes in their particular skills or accuracy. Just give people a clear task, allow them to work towards it, and then analyze it at the end as to how close they got to their desired goal. And this creates a much more positive approach towards learning. So this is far more likely to encourage entrepreneurship amongst your learners. You can do the same in work, in the work environment, but I think the earlier you can get it into your education system, the better.
Jason, do I need any specific equipment to run your program, because it looked quite complicated?
No, it is plug and play. You can be up and running within a minute. Any device. It doesn't need headsets. A lot of people think virtual reality is headsets only. We are hardware agnostic. From your phone, tablet, laptop, and if you've got your headset, that's also great, and it's far more immersive, but you have a degree of immersiveness even with your laptop.
Great, thank you. I've got 2 questions in the chat which I'm going to pick up before I come back to the ones I've got here. So is the skills gap quite similar in different countries you've worked, or is each country demonstrating unique characteristics in terms of skills gaps? And what do you think the biggest challenges is whilst working internationally? So 2 really good questions, and actually it'd be good to take a broad view if we can. So would somebody like to pick up on the first bit, which is, are the gaps similar to other countries than in the UK? Jane, I'm going to come to you with that one, because you cover one kind of sector in different countries.
Yes, we've done quite a lot of research recently, and to give you an example, we were looking at manufacturing, logistics and agribusiness, and they all had a common challenge. And I was really interested in one part in the Latin American Caribbean region, and it was around maintenance engineers for new equipment, new technology. And it was a massive gap, and we thought, well, this is really interesting, but how does that impact everyone else? And we happened to do a bit of work in the Middle East, and then we heard the same thing, came back into the UK, asked the same question of our sector skills council partners, and they were saying the same thing. So we could see this is a massive global challenge around skills in new technology, and so that's for the existing workforce as well as thinking about the entry workforce. So we are seeing that common factor, but I think Stephen picked up earlier, for me, that really important factor, core skills. Some people call them soft skills. I don't think they're soft skills. They're employability skills, transferable skills that cross all industry, are critical, and they have to be embedded. So that's it from me, but just a few examples.
Jane. Would somebody like to pick up on the point then about what's the biggest challenge of working internationally? Oh, Stephen, there you go.
Oh, yeah, no, very similar to Jane. I see the same skills. The gaps are different, obviously, depending on which country you're in. You see wider gaps in some of the developing nations. A lot of people, in terms of the IT space, a lot of people think technical. That's the first thing they want to. That's the first issue that arises with them. Is they need a technical qualification to be able to get a job. And like Jane said again, IT projects are often delivered by teams of people, not just technical people. So whether you're looking at the kind of business analysis or the user experience or the deep technicals, you do need deep technical skills as well within the team. But they are transversal skills across a product development team that people need to know and need to understand and have a common language throughout that kind of team building process. I think that's internationally where I find the biggest weaknesses is people immediately head for the technical, but there's a broader scope of skills that are needed.
Thank you so much indeed. There's a question in the chat. Can I just come to that? Jason, are you on the same point? Yeah, go on then.
Yeah, just in terms of building what's been said, I think yes, skills gaps largely are the same. And what I keep hearing, whether it's with Vietnam or Saudi or UAE, is there's a digital first approach to skills training shortages, and yet in spite of that, the biggest barriers to entry are around skepticism around technology and adoption, particularly those that are using it being the tutors. And I think that building their confidence through kind of a much more holistic approach to technology, wherever you are, is kind of key to success. Where again, going to the earlier point about getting them on the bus is key to kind of using technology wherever you might be in the world.
Brilliant, thanks. Yeah, the importance of getting teachers on side and upskilled as well. Question in the chat then. In education sectors, developing skills on a vocational side in Southeast Asia countries. So they need to kind of get more involved with industry. What are the best preparations for skills development relating to labour demands?
Well, I can add, I mean, I think it is the biggest challenge, actually. It is that's the closeness of industry, the importance of industry driving what they need now, but also for the future. And then really thinking about what's being delivered in our colleges, in our providers, further education, higher education, so that it does match that need, so that you really think about regionalisation, and what you're not doing is losing people out of your country, out of the regions, to go somewhere else for using skills that they've learnt but can't be applied locally. So I think it's really thinking about that, but also you've got to work with industry for them to future-proof and really consider how they're going to change over the years. You've got to understand that future-proofing.
Okay, and Stephen.
Yeah, no, I mean that connection between industry and training, I think, is vitally important, and people like ourselves on the call, colleagues here today, it's important that we kind of grow those relationships. But sometimes within the IT sector, I see industry a bit worried about upskilling their staff for fear that they'll jump ship and find a better paid job somewhere else. And I think that is a general concern for some of the organisations I work with, which you have to quell. But if they don't do it, if they don't upskill their staff, if they don't train their staff, they end up with a mediocre staff pool, which then fundamentally will mean that they will not survive in the long term, I think. So that's a bit of a challenge with industry, is trying to explain to them that, you know, you need to upskill all your staff and provide a working environment that they're prepared to stay in, because they see that continued professional development within their role. So I think it's important. But yeah, industry has to learn that too, but some of them fear it, that's for sure.
Great, thank you. And Dimple?
I think just to add to what Stephen and Jane have both said, that I think there is an aspect of employer engagement and buy-in, but employers trusting that once they offer those skills, that staff will stay, but offer that, you know, bigger picture that, you know, it's a good organization, you'll grow with the organization. But I think working with providers, you know, colleges, training providers, to sort of input into that, taking ownership, because it is about that collaboration. Because if training providers or colleges don't understand what skills are needed, you know, on a day-to-day basis, then we often offer things that are, you know, maybe a bit out of line. But, you know, how do we get that input and that buy-in from employers? And it is really very much about the work, you know, where we've been really successful is where employers have really sat at the table and contributed, but also taken that, you know, that step saying, let's train all of our staff, because in the long run, it's far more beneficial to the organization, just to add to what Jane and Stephen have been talking about. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. No, look, we are over time, so I'm going to have to draw it to a close. And I guess I would like to give you each the opportunity to give me 30 seconds at most, please, on, you know, why people around the world need to talk to your organisation. So if you could do that, that'd be great. Jane, I'm coming to you first, and we're going to work round to you all. So Jane first.
Well, I think one thing that I can say, and I'm going to put two hats, I'm going to say from UK Skills Partnership and from People1st International, you should talk to us, because we've been on a journey over a number of years. We've learnt in the hard way as well. And I think one of the things that we can offer is not just ourselves, but we can bring that partnership and collaboration around providing solutions that work for you in your country. You've heard from everyone, we all work in different countries.
I think if you're looking at, again, I think mainly around digital skills and some of the transferable skills, we offer programs that have worked really effectively to address some of the challenges, and we continue to develop those programs. So if you're looking to offer some of those more technical programs to your own staff, or develop your own, sort of looking at what you can offer, then come and speak to us. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Daniel, back to you.
I'm really sorry, I just dropped out and I missed the whole of the last kind of 90 seconds, 2 minutes.
Okay,
so
yeah, don't worry. So we're just giving each person 30 seconds to tell us why they should engage with you.
Okay, I think one of the questions was about entrepreneurship, and I think this is an area where we can help a lot of companies and educators. Also, we mentioned about the difficulty of getting tutors to embrace changes in technology. We also face this challenge, and it's taken quite a lot of work and kind of delicate pushing to get these things adopted. Definitely the portfolio approach and the coaching approach can easily be integrated into lots of different areas, but there's a lot of learning for the staff and the tutors and the trainers to embrace this. So this is something where we can help. We can share our experience and expertise.
Thank you so much
for anybody who wants to do this.
Thanks, Daniel. Claire, over to you.
NCFE, we really are invested in learning, and with our customised programmes in particular and endorsed learning programmes, it's very sector specific, it's very bespoke, it's very tailored. We have the stakeholder relationships to support you build, and having that real education focus to, you know, support you to build your programmes in line with your local needs. So very much quality focused, have the stakeholder, have the set in-house sector expertise as well. We work across a range of sectors. Obviously, I've just covered health and social care today, but we do work across a range of other sectors throughout NCFE. Okay,
Many thanks indeed. Thank you so much, Claire. Stephen.
Hi, simple really. We're 72,000 strong membership organisation globally. So from primary school all the way through to your highest CEOs. The members are active because they are members and want to be members. Come and join us. We will support you through your career from the very beginning. right up to your kind of retirement, I guess, to a large extent. And we will help you. We support you. That's what we're here for. That's why people join BCS.
Thank you so much indeed. And Jason, you get the final word.
Oh, thank you. So we've heard about needing to scale the workforce. We've heard about the need to scale to quality, and I think the nub of it is blended learning. And at the heart of blended learning is about the experiential learning, and at the heart of that is about using simulation and virtual reality to bring it to life, to bring the work skills that you need for your countries to life. And at Metaverse Learning, we are about partnership, and we'd love to collaborate with as many partners from around the world as possible to bring to everyone this amazing technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much indeed. Well, it just leaves me to say, look, it's been a really interesting session, 6 really different speakers covering a wide range of subjects. So huge thanks to Stephen Tweed at the BCS, the Chartered Institute for IT, to Dimple Cagram at Purple Beard Limited, to Jane Rexworthy at People1st and the UK Skills Partnership, to Daniel Atherton at BSC Education, Jason Holt, of course, at Metaverse Learning, and Claire Montague at NCFE. You've been listening to Jonathan Ledger. Thank you so much. The recording will be available along with the presentation. So we're going to put everything online when we get to the end of the week. Don't forget, join us tomorrow, 8 a.m. We'll be back online. New speakers, different day. See you then. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.